Good morning, everybody. Time for another 10 questions with session. And today I'm currently joined by Jeremy Hicks, VP of Validated Manufacturing for Hexagon. Good morning. And we're also joined by Alex Boland, Director of Sales at Digital Thinker. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me this morning. This is my first time I get two folks on stage, so yeah, it's fitting that it's the first time it's with you guys. So let's dive into it a little bit. I know that we're obviously at the Manufacturing Conference and Expo. I'm Scott Warofka, Associate Publisher for SC Biz News, and we are at the 2024 South Carolina Manufacturers Conference and Expo. So when we're talking about the competitive nature of our manufacturing environment, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that manufacturers face in managing their physical assets? I'll start with you.
Yeah. So first of all, Scott, thanks for having us. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and what a great conference when you look around. The activity, and what's great about this for me is it's in my backyard. I think this is in 25 years of
We factored that
in this industry. It's the first time I've done it in my backyard, so this is awesome. I love to really get engaged and support South Carolina manufacturing. So what are some of the biggest challenging, around managing your assets? I think that's really, you could put it into three different buckets, right? Which is rising cost of downtime, right? That's a big challenge. Going around talking to people here or talking to existing customers, there's a labor shortage for maintenance and reliability professionals, right? And there's a big skills gap, I feel like, between the next generation of maintenance people coming in. And yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest challenges.
Yeah, the labor shortage is, I think, going to be a real big problem over the next few years. And so that brings us into kind of topic number 3 a little bit. Of some of the challenges are we want to automate things as much as possible, right? Because that helps with the labor shortage issue, also helps with the skills gap. But we can only automate so much, So we need to be doing that in a smart way that's beneficial to keep downtime at a minimum, making sure your current human assets are being the most efficient with their time. And that's where Hexagon EAM comes into play.
So we got to optimize that maintenance, right? I mean, that's one of the things we have to do, because otherwise it's going to result in downtime. And what does downtime mean?
Cost.
Cost, exactly. How do you all help optimize maintenance? Talk to me a little bit about specifically the enterprise asset management. How do you guys help your solutions help optimize that maintenance?
Yeah. So it's really bigger than just the enterprise asset management, if you think about it, right?
Okay.
In terms of how we support our customers. And you can really think about it across the entire asset life cycle of an asset, right? From the time that you design it, build it, operate it, maintain it, and secure it. We've got a portfolio of solutions that ultimately kind of help in those different stages of a life cycle. But really what we do is we help manufacturers make sense of their data so that throughout that life cycle, they can make smart decisions and optimize and really be more safe, reliable, and efficient in their production.
And again, minimize that downtime. I mean,
It's all about minimizing downtime and maintenance reliability.
I was going to ask, and I know we had kind of a line of questioning, but that is very interesting to me, because I imagine when you're going to speak to someone, we obviously have a room again and full of manufacturers. One of the things that I'm sure they're most interested in talking about is, how can you help make sure that I'm not going down? I mean, because
And it's different by industry, right? I mean, if you're a pharmaceutical or an oil and gas company, losing a batch of your production is much more costly than a line shutting down in a traditional discrete manufacturer, right? So how you approach that and how you solve those problems are very different based on the industry too.
and it's changing, obviously, right?
Yeah, so let's go down a journey, right? I'll try to keep this as short as possible. But so
Good luck with that.
let's talk about how things have been done previously, right? And I think it's 2024. We've got technology out the yang, which is great. But you see a lot of companies are still operating in whether that's paper form of managing assets and maintenance teams, or I call it slightly digitized, where now we're moving to an Excel document. So that's a step in the right direction, right? But what EAM does is it's your central repository of this data. So it doesn't matter if Bob on second shift is working with Mary on first shift, they're putting that data into the system and anybody can view it. It's now not stuck in a notepad on Bob's front shirt. And so, we call this tribal knowledge, right? How are we, and Jeremy touched it on the first question, how are we going to bring this tribal knowledge with this labor shortage into the next generation? Well, it's an EAM solution. It's digitizing your assets, bringing in digital twins, optimizing those processes digitally. And that's how we can save time, money, resources, downtime. I mean, the sky is kind of the limit here at this point. But for those folks that care about moving the needle a little closer, not just maximizing profits, but enabling your team, you need a system that can do this robust amount of data collection.
Agree. And I just will add to one more point to that. Kind of one of the benefits of doing what Alex is talking about that I think is for the longest time been kind of the best kept secret, if you will, for those companies that are really automating and capturing that data in a quality way, is customers now are realizing that data, because of AI and all the trends that you see with the technology out there, that it's really valuable data that they can actually use to make real decisions as opposed to, just
Sitting in the notepad.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Another thing you touched on, Alex, that I thought was pretty interesting is I can also see how that could improve morale with your team, because one of the things that I would imagine has to bring people down a little bit is if I going to do my job, my task, and I'm unable to do it because my machine is not operating
Well,
well.
not only that, right? So I actually, funny enough, I wrote a blog about this maybe a couple weeks ago. And so it talks about that specifically. And so labor shortage, yes, we talked about that. But the great resignation of 2020, 2021, right? That was a huge shift in the labor market.
Sure.
And that affected everybody from C-suite down to line workers and everybody in between. So now all of a sudden we have this shift in corporations. Companies now have to be competitive, attractive to get top talent in the door. And if you're not providing those resources to that talent, your morale's going to be low. Your company's not going to succeed as quickly as you need it to. And then most importantly, you talk about, not being excited about coming to work. If you're walking into your maintenance shift and you're like, man, what's going to break today? That's a problem. Second problem is they're probably asking themselves, well, we've had this boiler for 45 years.
And the day.
Yeah, and Jim is gone. And he knows everything about this boiler. I don't know how I'm going to fix this dang boiler. Well, you introduce a digital application like this, and getting in the weeds of the product, you now have a checklist. You have a SOPs on a tablet. Bob, the maintenance man, can walk in, grab an iPad, and fix it all on the spot and not have to run back and forth from the parts room to the maintenance shed to grab the SOPs. You just run around the entire floor, wasting time trying to fix this critical asset. It's all empowered right here in his hand. And it sounds silly because, again, we're 2024, but why aren't we doing that more? Yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but it's an investment, not only in your people, but it's an investment in your entire operation. And it makes sense if you bring the big picture, downtime minimum, profits up, keeping your good people, and the train keeps moving along the station. So
Establishing redundancies. I think that's making sure that there is a plan that's going to continue when Bob does leave. Bob, the boiler boss, exits. We need to make sure that that is still able to do. I think that's fascinating, and those are things I think that people are not always aware of. That it would scare me. These are the things that would keep me awake at night.
Jeremy, let me ask you, I'm sorry to cut you off. And you said you've been doing it 25 years, right? Of those years, if you could, on one hand, how many people have you talked to whether it's selling the product or implementing, have not viewed maintenance as a money pit?
More the redheaded stepchild. It's everybody. It is. And we really need to change that mindset. Sure. I think I kind of like to use the analogy is that we're the last kind of discipline in the plant. Everything is becoming so automated.
Yeah.
Right. That the maintenance guys running around that are, maintaining the equipment, they're going to be maintaining the robots. They're going to be maintaining all the automation that's in there as well. Right. So, we're the ones that ultimately are left kind of keeping the ship going straight. Right.
Think about it. When you think about a mechanic or something like that in the old days, we thought about someone you had a certain image. Now you think about mechanics of some of the vehicles and things we have. These are engineers, and that's carrying over to maintenance because of our automated AI, all these different advanced manufacturing tools. You need someone with those skills to obviously maintain them, and obviously I can understand how this tool would help carve that pathway for them.
Yeah.
Machine learning, that's very important. I know that that's something that's obviously occurring everywhere. How is machine learning coming into how you all provide solutions?
Yeah. So, machine learning, in my opinion, kind of the IoT thing is not a new concept for us in the point, right? However, I think what is new is people's understanding of the impact that it can have on their business, right? So we've been connecting to assets for quite a while, and now we're able to do something with that data because of some of the new algorithms and models that are out there for us to predict things, right? So IoT is kind of front and center for us. Cloud first, technology that can innovate and integrate with your different applications of the plant.
IoT, the Internet of Things, still fascinates me every day when we just.
It's something different to everybody you talk to.
Was there a different? No, it does, and it's fascinating truly to see how it is just helping to improve efficiencies, optimize processes, and prevent downtime.
Yeah. So just give a very real life case scenario.
I'm going to ask if you
Yeah.
have.
So we're implementing Hexagon EAM to a large lumber manufacturing industry, and one of their requirements is, it's kind of rudimentary if you think about it, but it's an IoT sensor on a bandsaw, and they need to know how many times that saw cuts. How many cuts is it making?
Okay.
Because they know on that piece of equipment, after let's just say the 500th cut, we need to do a preventative maintenance plan.
Okay.
And so we're able to connect to that device, and it's just hammering away. And then when it hits that magic number, it auto-populates a preventative maintenance plan through EAM, alerts the most appropriate technician available at the time, and says, hey, bandsaw number 1 has made an alert because it's hit its number of saws, and we need to go do an inspection. I mean, that's gold. It's basically your machine's working for you, right? So it's cool. And like I said, it's primitive. It's just a small sensor counting how many times the arm goes down. And we're able to do cool things on the back end with
But
EAM.
before that was available, what would
Oh, it's just
perhaps-
break.
Yeah.
Yeah, just break.
You do a lot of preventive maintenance to it.
that's, I guess, what it is. I think that it's really, again, taking something that we're relying on, like you'd said, the old paper and notebook, and really making it a science. And I think that's fascinating. I truly do.
I like to say you have to listen to your assets, let them talk to you.
Listen to your assets. So I think that, obviously, as we look around and we see so many manufacturers out here, there are services, they would benefit from some of the services that you all would provide. So what are some considerations that they should factor into implementing EAM in their facilities?
Yeah, I think it's going to be different for everybody that you talk to, but kind of in general, I think what you would want to look for in a vendor would be somebody that ultimately has an easy to use, easy to implement system that will actually be used. I see too many people buy an EAM system and it never
The
gets
treadmill.
right. So something easy to use, but still has the advanced technology behind it to scale with you as you want to do more, right? And then the last thing I would suggest that South Carolina manufacturers look into is what vendors have a bigger vision than just the EAM piece, right? From cradle to grave, from the time that you are designing and building and maintaining it or operating it, you got to think about how is your EAM system going to work into that, and then lastly, a partnership with subject matter experts that actually can do something with it.
Yeah.
Like DigitalThinker.
Exactly. Jeremy's hitting the head on the nail, right? Like identifying those system requirements. And when you're looking for a vendor, right, there's a bunch of them out there. Scalability is key. End user ease of use is another key factor. And then customization to your business process needs. So we've got a fun, I can't remember if it's an acronym or an anagram, but 3 letters that mean something, right? So we got EAM, Enterprise Asset Management. Well, Digital Thinker's kind of got a little spin on it. Envision, act, master. Envision what you want the system to do. So it doesn't have to be nuts and bolts. I just need a system to manage our assets cradle to grave because I need to have better data visibility of where my money's going. And then we need to act on it. So we need to find the vendor, find the partner that can implement the solution. Think more than just the implementation. We need to think about asset management strategies. So that goes back to almost chicken before the egg. When does asset management start? It starts before the company even begins. It is the first thing that should be on your thought is how am I going to manage my equipment, my people, and my resources in the most efficient manner possible. And then the master part, I think unfortunately, there's no way you can go through life without constantly learning. And it's getting harder every day because we have so many applications at our fingertips we got to learn. But when it comes to manufacturing and asset management, you need to be a student of life, and you need to be able to learn and adapt constantly. And that requires mastering the product that you implement into your thing. And that's with training. That's with more things that come out as far as user enhancements are concerned. Business processes will change every 5 years, maybe sometimes less than that.
Yeah.
And you have to have a system that can adapt to those changes.
Well, and I think that's a good question that I'll direct towards you, Alex.
Yes.
I mean, as the integrator, digital thinker here, once the product is sold, it's not just hand over the keys and let's let them go. So talk to me a little bit about how you help walk them through integrating the system and how to optimize to make sure it's customized to their specific needs.
Yeah, great question. So we spend a lot of time on the front end of an implementation doing a business process review. And then that's not uncommon, and that's not giving away any trade secrets.
It's a needs analysis.
Yeah, it's a needs analysis, getting user requirements and all that. And so we take a look at this over time. And then from our standpoint, we come back to the client and say, hey, you guys got some great things here, but maybe there's some shoring up we can do over here. We could maybe do this a little bit better. Maybe we need to think a little bit harder about rolling out mobile functionality because you guys haven't done that before. So we try to consult, right? Bring in the hard conversations. But once it's implemented and it's going, it does require a form of maintenance, which is hilarious that your software needs maintenance, right? Your maintenance software needs maintenance. But what Digital Thinker does and what we've embraced is breaking down barriers when it comes down to training. Because, for example, no secret, our product it's not cheap. Most products aren't not cheap. Training can be expensive. It is an investment, and people don't always stay in your company. So what Digital Thinker has done, we've created a business model called DTI Academy. DTI stands for Digital Thinker Inc., and it's totally free. So we have a YouTube channel where we're constantly adding new videos, tips and tricks, 3 to 5 minutes, right? So prime example is, and it's actually a new feature coming out in the 12.2 release of EAM, you can link outside videos in the mobile application. So if you got a maintenance tech who doesn't know how to do a certain feature, you can embed that link in the work order, and they tap it, and the video pops up, and it's a 3-minute video. They get their work done, they close the video, and they go about their day. And so we do that. And then the other piece is we do 4 live training sessions a month. We do 2 webinars, usually about an hour, and then we do 2 workshops a month. Those are about 3 hours.
Okay.
And so this is, a curriculum that's changing every month. And with the workshops, we can only bring in so many people. But we kind of sat down and said, guys, user adoption sometimes fails because they don't want to spend money on training. Well, let's just take the gloves off. Let's let the gates open. And of course, as you wouldn't expect, I mean, we've had full classes for the last 3 months.
Ongoing training. I think that's and the other thing I find very interesting is, of course, showing my age a little bit, I do think it's absolutely fascinating that we, again, are turning to YouTube to help, this is how they're learning how to fix things, how to implement. And I had uttered treadmill, and I was thinking instantly when you were talking about that, how many times have you heard someone purchases a treadmill and it ends up being, what you're throwing your clothes on and things like that? It's never really used as it's intended. And I think that it's that obviously the success rate that you all are enjoying is because of the constant interaction and making sure that they're optimizing the services you all provide.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things that Digital Thinker does so well that I think is critical, because if you think about what you just said, right, there's all the information out there that you want in order to learn how to do something.
Yeah.
What we really want with our partners is somebody that can challenge the conversation, right, and not just say yes to everything, because these guys have been in so many manufacturing plants that their subject matter expertise can really help other companies benefit to do things better.
Amazing. I find it very interesting because, again, I think these are things that people were not always thinking of, but now as the cost is increasing to replace doing everything you can to maintain intelligently just makes a whole lot of sense. So did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I can feel your excitement, and I think we're all really excited on the vendor side too, because I think for the first time in 25 years, as an industry, reliability people, we're able to deliver on that promise
Yeah.
that we've been making for so long about predictability and prescriptive maintenance. Now with the IoT and the cloud-based systems and all the expertise around it, we can really have an impact on companies' bottom line now.
I love shining a light on that. You're right. I am passionate because I think, again, and I know it was kind of said with tongue in cheek almost, but that downtime, again, when I talk to people, there's nothing that hurts them more than knowing that they're not operating at their maximum efficiency because of something that could have been avoided. And that's where I think that you all can obviously help so much.
And I think everybody knows that, right? Nobody questions the reliability and the impact of downtime. I think what people question oftentimes is, can your methods or your strategies actually, reduce that downtime? And I think now more than ever, we can.
We've talked about this ever evolving. Jeremy, what are some trends that you see coming? What's next?
From a technology trends, I think it's, would be a shame if I don't say it. It's AI is the big thing that's not coming, it's here.
Yeah.
Right. But I think kind of an underlining trend that is important to me that I see is that people are understanding now the importance of the data. And so they're more, I guess, they're adopting the technologies, understanding that there is a short-term kind of a reason, and then there's a long-term reason. The short term is execute, cut down downtime, but the long kind of aspect is there's going to be a time where we're going to talk to our assets, right?
Yeah.
Just like we talked to ChatGPT, and when that happens, it's really going to be about the quality of data that you have in your systems that will predict ultimately how, or you'll define how effective you are at talking to your assets.
Using that example you had just given, Alex,
Yeah.
it's like, so how many cuts have you made? Being able to talk to your asset and say, where are we in the cycle of usage?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and just kind of piggybacking off of where the industry is going. I mean, Jeremy's hitting the head on the nail. AI's come in, making the data make sense, and putting it in a place where it's visible is one key thing. Another thing I'll see on trends. It's not new and exciting. I'm gonna be honest with you, but we're seeing kind of a cyclical moment with reliability-centered maintenance. So reliability-centered maintenance was initially developed for aircraft technology, keeping planes safe, reliable, so people don't fall out of the sky. That's pretty good. It's a great concept for fighter jets, for what we do for our defense. But this was developed like in the 70s, I believe, and don't quote me on that. Yeah, Boeing, I believe, was the one that did it, right? So it's really cool. So reliability-centered maintenance is really diving into the weeds of like, why did this asset fail? Root cause analysis. How can we prevent that from failing again? Or is it just gonna fail no matter what? And so it's a whole new strategy, or it's not a new strategy, but it's a whole different way of thinking
Sure.
about how you manage your assets. And I think for the last, I don't know, I'd say 10 years, we've been very much either it's two categories: reactive, it's broken, we got to go fix it now, or it's proactive, we're going to fix it before it breaks. You bring in reliability-centered maintenance, and that kind of adds a third element of like, okay, let's collect more data inside of our repository so we can make better educated decisions, because it's entirely possible to over-maintain your equipment, spend too much money on it, or under-maintain it and you not know you're under-maintaining it. And this is kind of segueing into another Hexagon product called APM, Asset Performance Management. So that, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that, but that's basically getting the data from EAM and now visualizing it in a way of, well, if I don't replace the heater on this boiler until next week,
What does that mean?
what does that mean? How much money am I going to be exposed to? And
Your risk.
that you're at risk for.
Okay.
So now with the APM feature, you can now take a look at these assets and develop a maintenance strategy, an asset management strategy based off of what's your critical asset. And then if I don't do the preventative maintenance piece on Tuesday the 2nd, is it really going to break? And now we have a cool little slider bar that says, well, if I do it next week, this is how much money I'm exposed to at risk for. Or if I over maintain this now I'm spending way too much money maintaining an asset that's not even critical anymore, because, part of, reliability is determining that asset management strategy. And I think it's very possible for some people to say, well, I don't need to maintain this piece of equipment because it only runs 2 times a year. We can run it to failure. It's fine. We're going to waste money maintaining it because we only turn it on twice a year, versus other assets that are used daily, never stop, right?
But you just hit the nail on the head with what I was trying to say earlier, right? Is like RCM in the 70s kind of fell asleep a little bit.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's taking a big time resurgence right now. And I think that that's because the belief in the technology can actually deliver on that promise.
Yeah, I think that we have tools such as what you all provide that actually help make that process doable now. And I've noticed a couple times you focus on the data, and I think that I'm a data nerd, so I think that that's fascinating. I think that combining what both of you have just said, having the data to know, you said it's a risk report that if I keep going beyond this threshold, I'm in borrowed time almost for this asset. And by pushing it beyond that, I'm going to likely create downtime and lose revenue. I love how
Yeah, man.
There's a great to getting all the data right.
I did. Yeah, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. So I know we talked about a little bit about trends, but what can we look forward to seeing specifically from Digital Thinkers we're moving forward in the next couple months?
Yeah, so I think the things we can see from Digital Thinker that are
New functionalities,
well, so we primarily focus on implementing the software, right? And Hexagon is the developer, and they bring in the new functionalities. And so we're excited a lot. The 12.2 is the next release version coming out, actually next weekend, November 16th. We're real excited about that. And so what we're excited about is there's going to be an AI feature involved in it, a little bit of a chat bot. Another piece is...
So again, real quick, that's going to be, I'm able to talk to the tool in...
Sort of.
Okay, sorry, it's phase 1, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's and we got to, we're treading a kind of a very fine line here, right?
Understood.
On features, but what can you expect to see from the product? A continued investment in anything that has to do with extending the life of it, making people more efficient, safer, and cost effective, right? Anything that has to do with that around the life cycle of the asset, we're going to start. We're going to continue to invest in development or acquisitions of other products. Right now, I think we've got 75 different solutions across our portfolio that really can enable that. We're going to see more and more.
Yeah.
To Alex's point, a little birdie has told me that we'll probably see some AI, coming out in a very near release.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, and so from the Digital Thinker angle, right, we're the implementer. We've got a strong partnership with Hexagon. We've been partners with Hexagon before Hexagon had the product, 20 years, right? So we're constantly challenging ourselves internally as the implementer. What are new best practices? What are new asset management strategies? And I think even more so, what my little personal initiative is, we want to become more than just the implementer. We want to be the asset management experts. We want to be the asset management voice of reason in the industry, not just in our little bubble. And so we're doing some exciting things. We're putting ROI calculators on our website, so that's kind of fun. We got one live right now on our mobile calculator. So basically, the claim to fame is we have a client who saved their technicians 15 minutes a day by utilizing the mobile app, turned into an unrealized savings of $500,000 a year.
That's real money.
Huge. That's real money.
I love the way you position that, and if I can kind of summarize that in my terms, you're really looking to be a long-term partner.
Yes.
This is not a transactional thing. This is something that long-term we're going to look for ways to continue to optimize, continue to save money.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great example of money saved there.
Well, it's funny. It's tongue-in-cheek. Everybody wants a long-lasting partner, especially in business. But my dad started the company 20 years ago, and he's kind of a salt-of-the-earth guy. He really cares about people, and I get a lot of my passion from him. We're both, my dad and I are both veterans, so we've got a kind of country first, people first mindset.
Sure.
And that's really what differentiates Digital Thinker from some of the rest. And it's we truly care about your success. So much so, I had a conversation with the client this week. They want to do an integration, and they're using an on-prem instance. And I said, guys, we need to upgrade first. They said, no, we don't want to do that. And I was like, guys, I'm not trying to sell you on the upgrade. Like, there's better tools. Let's use better tools. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. And that's okay. But we're trying to have those conversations because I told them, you're going to cost yourself more money in 3 weeks when the upgrade comes down the line versus if we do it now.
Just do it now.
Yeah, and trying to be right. Yeah. It's a journey, and you can't really help people along, that journey unless you're a trusted partner, right? And then you can really have, true conversations where you're challenging each other, you're trusting each other. You've got the capabilities to do what you say you're going to do, and I think that's exactly what Digital Thinker can do for them.
Amazing. Believe it or not, that's 10 questions. You guys,
We killed it. I mean, sorry.
we could keep this going.
What's your most exciting thing about South Carolina manufacturing? What do you see that's happening?
One of the things, since you're asking me, I'm going to say one of the things that I'm keeping track of, I think the most, I'll say two things. First of all, I'm a huge proponent of all things workforce development. I moved here from Florida. I'm excited to be a part of the Palmetto State. And what I am fascinated by is how many businesses are moving here on a daily, weekly basis.
Yeah.
But it's going to have to be something, in order for it to be long-term, we have to have a workforce for them. And one of the concerns that I'm continually thinking about is ensuring that this is going to be long-term. That would be, I would say, the first thing. Then the second, I think I'm fascinated by how the entire state is becoming, I hope no one takes offense to this, but little Detroit. It truly is. The auto manufacturing throughout the state is absolutely fascinating. I mean, each region can tout their own manufacturing facility of automotive. So it's fascinating.
How beautiful.
I haven't had the tables turned on me. Nicely done. But Jeremy, Alex, thank you for spending some time with me today. Truly enjoyed learning a little bit. And obviously,
You got a booth over there?
they're here today.
Yeah.
So feel free to come by and visit them, and also check them out online to digitalthinker.com.
Yep. DigitalThinker.com, Hexagon.com. We've got links on our website to the Hexagon website as well. YouTube channel, LinkedIn. Yeah, we're booth 906. Sorry, if you're listening to this today, we're booth 906 right by the coffee break station. Last little plug, if you don't mind. What Digital Thinker puts a end user conference on here in Greenville every year, February 24th through the 27th are the next dates. We are inviting all Hexagon users to come learn from this event, and I'm even challenging non-Hexagon users. Come experience this community. I think it's one thing we didn't talk about today is how really cool the Hexagon EAM community is. There's a user advisory board where the folks are constantly chatting with one another, end users, how to get the most out of their product, and then we as the partners are involved to say, hey, you need a nudge in this direction, or let's help you fix this. And it's a really supportive community. It's a lot of fun. We have a great event, so we'd love to see you come, whether you're a user or not. And if you're not a user, no need to fear. We're doing a introduction to EAM on Monday. It's a little class, so you can talk the talk and walk the walk with everybody else. So please come join us. And Scott, thank you so much for this. This has been great.
Really good.
Enjoyed it, gents. Thank you very much. All right.
All right. Thank you.